22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who'll go to the White House and who'll stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. You are listening to Black Westchester Presents People Before Politics Radio every Sunday 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. And the most important thing in the intro, this is the show that's not afraid to say it. Moving on, it's
that's right.
28. You listen to Black Westchester Presents People Before Politics Radio. We have our two guests here, and I want to start with Janice for a minute. You are running as city council. You are a Democrat running on the Independence Party, but you weren't on a Democratic primary. And one of the questions when I bring your name up is people are like, who is she? Where did she come from? What has she done? So let's start with those questions.
Okay. All valid questions.
And make sure you're talking to the mic too.
Sure. So I was born in Mount Vernon. I've lived here my whole life. I was raised in Mount Vernon. I still live here and I work in Mount Vernon. I apologize for my voice. I'm a little under the weather today. But going back to where you started the conversation earlier, my roots in Mount Vernon started out about 50 years ago when my grandparents immigrated here from Portugal. And they came here looking for a better life. And they settled in Mount Vernon because there was opportunity here. There was industry, there were jobs, and so they made Mount Vernon their home. They lived here, they worked here, they raised their family. My mom was one of the first ESL students. It was the first year that they were implementing English as a second language in the state of New York. They did it in Mount Vernon. She was one of the first ESL students. She graduated from Mount Vernon, and as she grew up and married my father also immigrated here from Venezuela. They decided to stay here in Mount Vernon because Mount Vernon had been good to them. It was a good place. And they decided to just plant themselves and continue to raise their family here. And so I was born in Mount Vernon, and we still live here. My father has a business in Mount Vernon as well. So my roots are deep, and my roots run across 3 generations. And I feel that I have a pretty good understanding of how decisions that are made by our leaders can impact across generations, from the youngest to the oldest. And that's, I believe, something that's very important to bring to the council.
Okay. Now, so you've lived here all your life, so you've
Yes.
seen it from that perspective. What things do you think need to be changed? Why are you running, first off? What made you decide, there's a lot of people that don't like what's going on, but they're not running. Why are you running?
Well, that's exactly it. Because I believe that for way too long, a lot of people, like you said, they've noticed things are not well, but they haven't stepped up. For a long time, people have been disconnected from City Hall, and that's a major problem. And if there's any change going to take place, any significant change or meaningful change that will be sustainable, we have to reconnect the people to City Hall. And that means that people like myself who have grown up in the private sector, my professional career has been in the private sector. People like the councilman nominee Andre Wallace, other people in the community who have a great deal of talents and can make significant contributions to the community. We need to step up and reconnect, because we are the people who will bridge the gap that currently exists between the people of Mount Vernon and City Hall.
Okay.
And so I am stepping up because I want to be part of the solution. I see ourselves in a great place, even though we say we're not in a great place, but because of the challenges that we face, these are great opportunities for us to really implement meaningful solutions and change the direction of our city for the better.
That's what's up. Now I heard, and I have not looked this up, so I can't speak totally intelligently about it, but that if you were to win, you would be the first candidate of Portuguese descent to ever win an election in at least Westchester. I'm not sure about New York State, but at least Westchester.
That is correct.
That's correct.
That is correct. There have been others that have run. There's been others that have been run for the school board.
Okay.
Tony Castro ran for district attorney. Correct.
Tony Castro's Portuguese?
He is.
Never knew that. I'm going to
Yes.
have to call him.
Yes.
Never knew that.
So there have been others that have run for office and have not been successful. So if I were to be elected November 3rd, this would be an historic event for the city of Mount Vernon and for the county. And I think it's significant also for the communities of Portuguese speakers, not just the Portuguese, but the Brazilians and also Hispanics. I think it's important that there be examples, that there be representatives of the diversity that exists in Mount Vernon.
Agreed.
I definitely agree with that.
Agreed.
Now, you're on an uphill battle. One, because you weren't on the primary,
Right.
even though you were allowed to take part in the Fleetwood Citizen Society debate,
Correct.
which would had all the primary candidates. The primary picked two people, which was Lisa Copeland and Andre Wallace, who you mentioned earlier, who actually announced on this show and is a friend of the show. Lisa was the highest vote getter, so a lot of people honestly don't think you have a chance. Speak to that,
That's
because
okay.
of her popularity, because how many votes she got,
Well,
et cetera.
I understand that she has a deeper history, a public history with the people of Mount Vernon. She's got name recognition and certainly, to whatever merits she deserves for her public service, that's great. And for the people that love and support her, that's fine. But for the people that say I can't do it, I'm here to say that I'm going to try anyway, because it doesn't matter what the odds are. I think the point is to stand up, to give myself a voice, to be heard by the people, for the people to get to know me, and also it hopefully inspires others to do the same. I'm motivated to be part of the movement that I see happening in Mount Vernon.
Okay.
I want to be part of the change that's coming to Mount Vernon. I want to be part of the solution, and I want to be part of its future, because I am an example of the American dream. I come from humble means. I went to college. I was the first in my family to graduate from college, and I went to Columbia University. It's
That deserves a round of
important.
applause. Hold
It's
on.
important. Thank you. And it's absolutely important and vital that we do what we can to make sure that everyone in Mount Vernon has the opportunity to live the American dream, because we can do it. And there is no reason why anyone is left behind or is not able to accomplish that. And kudos, Damon, to your daughter and to your wife for opening up a small business
thank you.
in South Mount Vernon, because I think you're absolutely right. That is what we have to start doing. I love the shop. I love the quality of the shop, and that is representative of what has to start to happen. We can't, if we want to raise the quality of life for everyone in Mount Vernon, we're talking about raising the standards. It has to be good quality choices that we make available to our people, and that's what I want to promote and I want to encourage, and that I think is going to be the foundation to change things in Mount Vernon.
Janice, let me ask you a question. Knowing that the city hall does not control the educational system because you have the board of ed. As a city council person, what will you do to try to bridge that gap and also try to promote a better educational system in Mount Vernon?
Well, we have different committees. The city council sits on different committees. Some of them, like the youth bureau. So there's currently a lot of programs that the city itself does to support the youth. What I think has to happen is that there has to be a open communication and dialogue between City Hall and the Board of Education. When you start to collaborate, you start to eliminate redundancies, and that creates efficiencies across the board. It creates efficiencies in City Hall, and it'll create efficiencies in the school board. And school board is a big stakeholder in the city. There should be open communication between the two.
Right.
They own a lot of property. They're a big stakeholder in the community. They're a significant part of the community because they are the foundation of our youth and their future. So there has to be open dialogue. So I would absolutely look at developing relationships with various leaders in the school community, on the school board, in the school system itself, and work with the mayor and the other city council people, but most importantly also work with the mayor, because I believe that the communication has to come from the top. The leadership has to start at the top. So the open communication has to start there, and it has to be reflected by the leaders underneath the mayor. So that's what I would look forward to do, is to work with the mayor, to work with the other city council people, to work with the other members of the committees, to begin developing a stronger relationship, an open dialogue with the school board, and discussing the programs that they have that are effective, the programs that the city has that are effective, and start connecting the dots, and where we can create efficiencies that will benefit everybody.
Okay. Now I want to do something a little different. Like, and usually, you know, we have a radio show. We're considered the press, and we get to ask a lot of questions. Now, while Glenn's sitting here waiting for his turn, you are a resident of Mount Vernon, and you do not know who she is. So, as a resident, as a voter, you got any questions? You got something you would like to ask? Because you might come up with something that we might not come up with. You know, with something that you want to know as a voter. You know.
Yeah. Well, I just want to know, what would you do to make Mount Vernon a better place to live? You know what I'm saying? So people would be happy to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like kids would want to keep the city clean. You know what I'm saying? What would you do to fix that?
Well, city council has a very important function for the city, right? It's the legislative body. It approves the budget, so it controls whether taxes go up or not. It has a significant role in in quality of life issues, and that's a big question you just asked, and it's got lots of there's lots of ways to answer it, and it's not a single answer. The city council can begin addressing more effectively these quality of life issues, if acting more as I believe as it should, which is an independent thinking body, and engaging the community. You're right. People have to have skin in the game for them to care, right? And some of it has to start with the young children, keeping the streets clean, keeping the parks clean, having them committed to wanting to do the same. But it goes back to what AJ said earlier. We have to change the mindset. If people have become used to the dirty streets and seeing trash on the corner and not worrying about it or not picking it up, that's not the norm. That should not be normal to us, but yet it is. We need to start changing the mindset, and part of it too is that people need to start seeing the change happening so that they believe in it. And it does start with city services, looking at how effectively we are maintaining our streets. Well, obviously not. Where's the money in the budget for that? And working with the communities, with the school board, it has to start from our youth and go across generations all the way. It's just how we walk in our city. The city council has to set the standard, and we have to commit our people to following it. Right now, I know that there is a sense of non-commitment. People know that they are violating ordinances, and yet they're not willing to change. But that comes also from the leadership that's there. They're willing to let them not be in compliance. So I think the city will begin changing when we start looking at those things, and we start saying, okay, now how do we help our people
Right.
come into compliance with the rules that already exist and the codes that already exist, because then we'll start moving in that direction.
Okay. Let's see if I can get this.
You got a caller?
Caller, you on People Before Politics. Please state your name and your comment, please.
I'm Shanice Coleman.
Hey, how are you?
Hey.
How are you?
Hey, what's
Hi,
up, my guys? Is my sister there? Is Cynthia there?
No, she went to Washington. I don't know if she's back yet.
Yeah, she's still in
Okay, but
Washington.
my brother's there. My brother and my 2 honey bunnies are there. First and foremost, Janice. Let me tell you about Janice today. Janice, who's at Mount Calvary, the Promise Church, she didn't just speak. She preached today.
Did she? Did she?
Yeah. I mean, there was a different side of her, and I think it came from her heart and her soul, what she wants to do for the city of Mount Vernon. Also, she quoted some good scriptures. Meanwhile, there was a guest pastor there, and he just kind of piggybacked off of her. And I just want to say, Janice, I am so proud of you. You go, girl.
Thank
you
you,
got my
Shanice.
vote.
Thank you. Thank
Now,
you.
now, Janice, we are what? How many weeks away we from the election? 3, 4, 3?
3 from Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, officially 3 weeks from this Tuesday.
Yeah. Where can the listeners find out more about you? Where can they do if they got to do research? Look, you know what? Before I even say that, you're going up against. There's 2 seats, correct?
Correct.
Two seats, yes.
There's 2 seats, and you have you're on the line with Andre Wallace. You're on the Independence line with Andre Wallace, Lyndon Williams. I'm putting you in the hot seat right now. Lyndon Williams,
Richard Thomas.
Richard Thomas.
They all got the independent.
Yeah, they all got the Independence line, but then you have a Democratic line with Andre and Lyndon and Richie. But then you have Lisa Copeland. Now, we've been hearing in the street that she's supporting you. You know, I mean,
that is the word on the street. That is the
I
word.
heard that too.
she's supporting you. You know, I mean, you know,
Which would go against the whole unity thing
Yeah,
that Reggie
yeah.
Lafayette is telling that all the Democrats support
Yeah,
the
I mean,
nominees.
you know-
and she's a nominee.
right? And have we invited Lisa on the show?
Yes, but yes.
Okay, we invited Lisa and we invited Reggie a couple of times. You know what?
Reggie
You know
actually scheduled to come twice
No.
and didn't show up.
No, AJ, I need you to text Reggie right now and ask Reggie to come on the show, and let's talk about all this stuff that's going on with Ernie and what we hear about Lisa, and see his response. But
Okay.
since we have Janice here, how does that make you feel when, you know, it seems to be confusion, you know, and as a candidate, I know, you know, how does that make you? How does it make you feel? And does that change your the way you campaign, or does does that keep something in the background on the confusion that's going on who's supporting who?
So just to set the record straight, I have not had any conversation with Lisa. So I can't speak for what she's saying. I am running on the Independence Party line, and I support all of my colleagues on the Independence Party line. So I support Andre Wallace, I support Richie Thomas, I support Lyndon Williams. That's my party line.
Okay.
That doesn't change how I run my campaign, because my campaign is about change. It is about integrity. It's about reconnecting the people to City Hall. It's about changing the way City Hall does things. It's about changing our focus to the people, back to the people. That's what I stand for, and that's my campaign. So that doesn't change anything I do. But what I will say is that what you just said, Damon, that Lisa's saying out there represents the confusion, the lack of transparency, the lack of integrity that we've been seeing from the Democratic Party, that we've been seeing from City Council, that we've been seeing from City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
It represents the old guard. It represents how things have been done, how they used to be done. And that's what we have to do. I think this whole election is about not doing business as usual. This election is about changing the way we do things for the better, changing back the focus to the people. If City Hall actually focused on the needs of the people and their communities, we would have a very different city. And that's what my campaign is about. That's what my focus is about. And all this other stuff that's being said is just noise. It's irrelevant to how I run my campaign, as far as I'm concerned.
Two things. I have a question. A question came in from Jamie Pessin. Excuse me if I pronounce his name wrong. He's listened to the show. He said, "Thank you, good show." He wanted me to ask you, will there be another city council debate? And the question from me, and I'll let you, I don't know the answer to that, but the question from me, I've heard now older people, because Davis was painting this picture that Richard Thomas was disrespecting the older generation. When the expression old guard took that to mean old as in age, not as in old as in the old ways of doing things.
Correct.
So I wanted to clarify that with you right now so that they don't be like you was on People Before Politics attacking old people.
No,
So, no, but I wanted her to clarify.
It's not about age. It's about how it's not business as usual. We have to change the way we've been doing business in City Hall and how the city's been run. The city has been badly managed. The city has been making bad decisions for way too long, and we're suffering from the consequences. Our taxes are going up, our school system is down in the tanks, and we have nothing to show for it.
Okay.
That's what it's about. It's not about the older generation. In fact, we have a lot to learn from the older generation.
Okay.
We have a lot. The older generation had higher standards, higher quality of life. They had respect, they had integrity, and these are the values that the older generation grew up with and passed on is what we need to continue to value, promote, and encourage.
Right.
Because it's not reaching down to our youth today. And that's what we have to bring back. So the older generation has a great deal of value still to bring to the community, and they should be involved and still part of it. So yes, to clarify, the old guard is referring to not the older generation, but how things have been done.
Now I'm glad that you said the part that you said, because another thing that is often said by the older generation is that your generation does not want to listen to them. Like, y'all just want to go,
That's not true.
like, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that you said that you're willing to learn from, there's a lot to learn, I think that is very important, because a lot of people say that. I do want to get back to, I didn't let you answer the question. Do you know if there's any more city council debates, is what the question was?
My understanding is there is one on October 22nd at Mount Calvary, actually.
Oh, yes, and that's the one that Jim Jubilee, I think,
Jim Jubilee is
yes,
moderating
that's
that.
going to be a great one.
And Pastor Wheeler, from what I understood, spoke about that at church today.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So
I think my name came up. That's what I heard. Yeah, that's what I heard from like 4 people, but yeah.
So my understanding it's October 22nd. I imagine it's around 7 p.m. at Mount Calvary. Is that 2nd Street? I don't remember.
Yeah, across the street from the library.
Yeah,
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's what I always say. Big shout out to Pastor Wheeler, my brother from another mother.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but just getting back to your question, AJ, I started off by telling everybody that my grandparents immigrated here 50 years ago to start a new life. I grew up with my grandparents. Growing up with them and what I've learned from them is invaluable to me. And I understand what their struggles were when they first came here. I understand what their struggles have been aging, being part of the aging population in Mount Vernon.
Right.
And I understand what it takes for a family to support the aging population, because my mom took care of my grandfather before he passed away last year, and it was a family effort. Everybody pitched in and was involved in his care after he had his stroke. So it's important to understand the different generations, the struggles that we all deal with, the needs that we have, and how the community supports each other, and how the city can.
You are listening
Thank you,
to
Andre. We'll see
Black
you in a few.
Westchester Presents People Before Politics. We'd like to thank our guests, Glenn Butler and Janice Duarte, who was running for city council as a Democrat on the Independence Party. You could be doing anything else right now, but you decided to ride with us, and we greatly appreciate that. And until next week, peace.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials, because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner, because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run, or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still life of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry R. women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing